Mags, we're treated to two great semi-finals here today for the All-Ireland Senior Camogie Championship. First up was Cork and Kilkenny. A good battle between two sides, old rivals, and one of them knocked out sorely in the championship. But let's talk about Cork first. Their first half display for you.
Yeah, I thought Cork played very well, had plenty of possession in the first half, possibly converted well, but possibly felt that they didn't get a full foothold of the game and could have got more out of themselves within the first half itself. Kilkenny had a few wides, however they would have felt, going in with a point up, that they probably were better off coming out of the first half patch than Cork.
Yeah, you did mention a few wides. They had plenty of chances in the first half, the Cats did.
They did, and place balls as well were uncharacteristic from certain players. Cork, I suppose Cork's use of the ball in the first 15 minutes was very positive. They put a lot of ball in direct, and then they changed back to carrying it through the middle third. And when I say the middle third, that's kind of 45 to 45. And when you know a team is going to play that manner or that style, the opposition can kind of counteract that fairly cleverly enough, and that's where Kilkenny came into their own after the water break. They applied the pressure, they started getting your hand on the opposition player coming through and breaking their momentum, and that allowed Kilkenny to turn the ball over and take their chances when they came then.
Were the goals critical for you? The crucial scores?
Yeah, of course. We talk about Cork, and when it comes to the business end of the season, for me, Cork tactically, nothing's ever straightforward. Like they always have something up their sleeve, and especially against Kilkenny for some reason. Valerie, yeah, we had today the circumstance of obviously Gemma O'Connor coming in and replacing Izzy O'Regan in corner forward, and Gemma's primary strength would be to be in the back line and scooping up ball. Maybe they felt Gemma was better placed up front and full forward today, just to throw the opposition off slightly, which they did. In my opinion, it worked. Colette Dormer came in back off the wing to specifically mark Gemma O'Connor, and when you're kind of playing an opposition and you're solely focused on their certain key players, it doesn't allow you to play to your strengths. So I felt the first goal was obviously Gemma, struck by Gemma. It came from a savage run from the middle of the field. When Cork ran with the ball the whole way through, they were causing trouble, but they just stopped doing that in the second half. So that was goal number one for Cork, and then Kilkenny's, Anne Dalton, how she stuck that to net was fabulous, but that should have been dealt with better, and Cork's defence would essentially broke to Anne, and Cork's defence would feel like they a little bit aggrieved with that passage of play, because that wouldn't be to the standard that they normally would play to.
Something that stood out for you today was Cork's style of play in the way they played here today.
Yeah, I like what they do. I really do. They're not just a forward playing or a forward thinking team. They like to push the ball back if the option isn't on forward. They like to play it wide. But that style of play is very evident in the men's game as well at the moment. And sometimes, to be honest, at this time of the year, with the weather the way it is, you're overplaying the ball in the middle third. I think people like to see Cork play a fast-paced game. That's great, but they were just slowing it up a little bit in the middle third for my liking. They did, unlike other championship games I feel this year, today was an exception. They actually played a lot of ball in as well, so I give them credit to that, but it just wasn't sticking for them. When they put Gemma in, it's not the Gemma O'Connor show, but I felt, when Gemma was in full forward in the second half, Gemma's strength would be an aerial ball, and not a low ball out either side of her, just given the circumstances of her coming back from injury. So the fact that they never tested that aerial ball or against the opposition, Kilkenny's defence, was a bit strange for me. The 7 wides obviously in the second half for Cork, the balls dropping short, just really uncharacteristic of Cork. And also, the place balls were going wide. Like, if you want to be in an All-Ireland final, you have to be converting not 80%, 90% of those set place balls.
There seemed to be some drama at the end with time, and for us here, Mags, it seemed like the referee did play the 64 minutes, and I know that other media outlets mightn't have had their clocks running right, but to us it seemed right. But I spoke to Paddy afterwards, he's absolutely disgusted with the referee.
Yeah, he maybe got a whisper in his ear after the game, Valerie, to say, for instance, there's maybe, I believe on Twitter or whatnot, there was a bit of a spark about the clock not running the full quadrant of time. for me, that's not where the game was lost for Cork. I think Paddy knows himself that there was lost chances there within the second half. But I have to take my hats off to Kilkenny. The intensity that they came out with in the second half was really admirable. Their use of the ball, they got the ball in the middle third, coming out of the fence, they moved it fast. When Cork decided to push up in the last 8 minutes, it allowed massive space back in the full forward line for Kilkenny. You could see Denise Gall, lording ball out of the sky as per usual, but Anne Dalton for me really came to the fore. She was verbal in the middle third, she was directing play, she was directing set plays as well. She was basically telling people to put the ball into space because there's so much space. Like I'd say you could get a grand two-story house there at one stage, planted on the far side there, the Blackrock end. There's just so much space up there, and sure, Kilkenny were out in front, and they were not playing down the clock essentially, but they were just playing very clever, efficient camogie.
Yeah, Kilkenny through to the All-Ireland final now, and then we're awaiting the second finalist today, which was Galway and Tipperary. But Galway's defensive structure here today, Mags, was just Sarah Dervin and co out there, down there in the backs.
They were magnificent. You have to question why they were allowed to be magnificent to an extent. Tip for me, we're playing some really, really nice camogie. Like I'm talking zippy 10, 15 metre passes off the stick, ball to hand. Their first touch was excellent. But when they transitioned out of the half back line or were coming through the middle, they didn't spray the ball in quick enough. They wanted to run everything down the spine of Galway's defence, and Sarah Dervin ended up getting player of the game today, and she deserves it highly, but they were feeding ball into her, and a player of her stature and standard, you can't be playing ball directly into her, be it aerial or low. She'll control everything around her. You need to be spreading the ball in a little bit wider. For me, if Tip did that on a few occasions, they would have dragged the Galway defence out, because in the first half there was plenty of space up there for Tipperary, and they were actually, when they ran at Tipperary, they were creating chances but just not executing those chances. Their shot selection, Tipperary's shot selection in the first half let them down slightly as well. I think Tip were there. Who would I be most confident going into a final? If I was walking out of Páirc Uí Chaoimh today, I would be a happier Kilkenny person rather than a Galway person. Carrie Dolan came off with a hand injury there. I know Siobhan McGrath got in and got some good minutes in as well, and created good opportunities, creating space. But at the same time, they missed 2 goal opportunities, which they need to be taken from penalties. And it just didn't seem like they were ruthless enough. Now they'll use this and just say whatever about yourself there, Mags. We know what we're about, and I know what they're about. They have the ability and the abundance of ability on their panel to come in and win this All-Ireland final. But I think what Kilkenny brought today, none of us was expecting, because they weren't testing the group stages, so they really had to get themselves up for this game. And I do think Cork threw them in the first 15, but after the water break they came out and they decided, right, today is our day, and they must take massive confidence then going into the final in 2 weeks' time, winning against Cork in Cork's home pitch. There'll be no more motivation they'll need to overcome Galway, I feel.
Galway and Kilkenny, it's going to be a right cracker in the final, isn't it, Mags?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Great game for any neutral or fan of camogie. I suppose it's been great to date, Valerie, with the live streaming of all the championship matches, and I really do feel this is the year that camogie has got the most exposure, and even from the county finals we have a lot of players. I know for myself, maybe you're playing your own championship and you can't get to another, but you're able now to flip open a laptop and have a look at other county finals. But for the camogie championship and the inter-county scene, it's been great to nearly attend all these matches of sort, and I think there's people from China, Australia, Canada, New York, and where have you. I think there was some viewers there from North Korea there at one stage tuning in. So look, it's magnificent to see the exposure of camogie at this level, and that's obviously all being supported by Liberty Insurance.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Mags, we were both worried when we first came here today that we wouldn't do a tap of work, but we got on all right.
We got there in the end. Yeah. This will go out, will it?
Yeah. This will go out on air, will it?
Grand job. And it's nearly 5 o'clock, so we're nearly off home.
Thanks very much, Mags, for today.
Thanks, Valerie. Thanks.